We welcome you to the ACC on ESPN, and from historic Cameron Indoor, the number 2 Duke Blue Devils will take on the Mountaineers of Appalachian State. Duke closing in on their ACC opener. That's next Wednesday right here. Hi, everybody. Dave O'Brien alongside my partner, Corey Alexander, former first-round pick in the NBA. Great to have you again. You know, you talk about a clash of styles. This is kind of an ultimate with these two.
It really is. And App State wants to keep the game at a lower pace. They want to hold their opponents to 58 points per game or less and see if they can find a way to slow down this fast-paced Blue Devil team.
And the country is really starting to get to know Paolo Banchero, and that's a very good thing with his vast array of skills.
It really is. When you think about Paolo Banchero, you're talking about the perfect combination of size, of speed, of skill, of agility. He has everything that you would want in a basketball player. If you were playing NBA 2K, which of course he has an NIL deal with, you would build a basketball player like Paolo Banchero. But for App State, Adrian Delph is going to try to have a statement game here in what is one of the best arenas, if not the best arena in college basketball. A 39-point game for him earlier this year. He's trying to make a big statement on the big stage.
All right, this, by the way, the 10th meeting between the schools, with Duke holding an 8-1 advantage. When they met 5 years ago, Duke walked away with a 35-point win. But App State did win in 1981. It was Coach K's second year at Duke here in Durham. And we are underway with the Blue Devils winning the opening tip. It had been a long, long stretch since Duke last played until Tuesday when they ran past SC State. But, Corey, they went 2 weeks.
It did, and they showed some rust in that game. Wendell Moore Jr., who takes the first shot, actually who leads the ACC in assists, did not have an assist in that game. Duke had 16 turnovers, and they were crushed on the offensive glass. Things that Coach K wants to clean up tonight.
A nice quick move here by Justin Forrest, 6'2 senior, who has not been hitting his shots, but he gets the first one to go tonight. Look at the App State starting 5 this evening, and that includes Justin Forrest. And a quick turnover here, and they're going to run it out. Amonasy will lay it in. Michael Amonasy to make it 4-0 as we check out the Duke starting 5. And they get on the board quickly out of the corner. A good sign early. Trevor Keels, who really got it going the other night.
Hey, Trevor Keels knocked down the first 3 of the night on Tuesday for the Blue Devils. Does the same here tonight, but a turnover allowing App State to take an early lead, getting out to 4-3. And that's one of the things for Coach K, wanted to make sure they clean up. More importantly, start to get a sharper focus on the way they move offensively, ball movement and player movement.
Well, look for the Mountaineers to do exactly what they're doing right now, running down that shot clock very deep. Amonasy will launch and can't hit off the back iron, and it'll be tipped to Roach. A 4-3 start for the Mountaineers. Banchero in strong for 2 off the window.
When he gets a full head of steam getting downhill, there's no one in college basketball that can stop him from getting his shoulder square, getting to the rim, and getting a good look. The only thing you're doing at that point really is putting him at the free throw line where he makes 85% of his shots.
Yeah, pretty good there, too, among all the other things he does well. Lewis gets tied up by Roach. As we give you a look at Coach K, year number 42, final year of an absolutely astonishing career. 47th overall season. One of 2 teams, the 2 top 10 wins so far this year.
And a much looser Coach K, enjoying spending time with him, talking with him over the past couple of days. And he is enjoying coaching this team, but he knows he's got a team capable of winning a national championship.
That would make anybody a little bit looser, but you're onto something there, this being the last year, and how much he's enjoying all phases of it, like watching Keels drain triples.
Obi, you and I talked earlier in the week about the fact that Trevor Keels is a knockdown shooter. Came into the game Tuesday shooting 30% from 3, went 2 for 5 on Tuesday night, but he is starting to show signs of the shooter that he is, to add to everything else that he does so well.
Amonasy working on Roach, little fall away for 2. Good looking shot.
You know, one of the things we see from App State coming in, and we were here for their shoot around earlier, they didn't come in and take pictures. No one was on Instagram Live. They didn't treat this as though it was a huge ordeal to play at Cameron Indoor. They are coming in very businesslike, and it showed from their start.
Or jumping inside. Oh, that's a difficult shot. Made a mid-air adjustment. He banked it in. When you talk about how seriously App State is taking it, Dustin Kearns, their 3rd-year head coach, he's wearing a suit and a tie tonight. So are all the coaches on his staff. Nice catch there on the baseline by Amonasy. That's out of respect to Mike Krzyzewski.
And that's a great sign. But one of the things for Coach Kearns, it's respect but not fear. He's coming in talking about he wants his team to walk away from here with the win, as Almonacey looks as though he wants to get a win here as well. He's gotten off to a great start early.
He has 7 points. He was the man in their stirring run in last spring's Sun Belt tournament, the conference tournament. They won 4 straight games and got that bid to the NCAA tournament.
You're absolutely right, Obi. In those 4 straight games, they actually made 44 three-pointers, averaging 11 a game. But Almonacey made 20 of the 44 during that tournament for App State. So he's a guy that's going to look to be aggressive here as well.
He was the most outstanding player in the tournament. A lot of traffic there for Lewis. He'll feed it outside. Back up top, and that's going to go for Forrest, who has 5. And the Mountaineers are here to play early.
A great sign for Justin Forrest, the 5th-year senior for App State, who decided to come back and use his COVID year now in his 133rd game, which is the most all-time in App State program history.
Roach off, fake 2-pointer. Yes, he drills it. Jeremy Roach, the 6'2 sophomore out of Leesburg, Virginia, and ties it at 12.
I believe the 2-week layoff has been good for Jeremy Roach. He shot the basketball very well on Tuesday, but it's given him time really to spend a lot of time with John Shire, who's associate head coach, soon to be head coach in waiting. And these two guys spend a lot of time together watching film, going over opportunities for Roach to take better shots, and it showed.
Forrest shut down lane, shot clock a factor now, down to 3 here for App State. Kind of tumbling in. That's going to be a traveling violation on Almonacey. Good early start, though, for the Mountaineers. 15:02 to go in the first half. 12-12 here at Duke. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Discover Exceptionally Common Sense. App State beat Duke 75-70, as we mentioned, in 1981. Coach K's second year at Duke. App State guard John Fitch led the team in scoring with 22 points. Duke with an 8-1 advantage all time in the series.
And Coach Dustin Kearns talked to us earlier about people asked him, why are you playing this game? And he says, well, you can't win the game if you don't play it. He referenced their football program, a big win at Michigan. He says, of course, we can do the same here with our basketball program. And he's gotten great production early in this one. Michael Almonacey, Justin Forrest getting off to a great start, scoring all 12 of App State's points early.
Now both teams are 5 for 7 from the field. In traffic, Moore could not get that one to go. Gregory out of the pack with it for the Mountaineers. Play a very deliberate style. They'd like the game to be in the 50s or 60s. That's what they want to see. Downtown again, Forrest, not this time. Keels with the board. Here he comes.
And we asked Coach Kearns if his style of play was similar to Virginia's earlier, and he says we like to be similar to what Virginia does defensively. However, offensively, we do not want to hold the basketball. They don't want to take quick shots and play on defense the entire game, but at the same time, they want to look to push when they have opportunities as well as let it fly from 3. And you get a look at Dustin Kearns' resume, and he's one of 25 coaches who have taken the team to the 2 different teams to the NCAA tournament in their first 2 years on the job. So you're talking about a up-and-coming star in the coaching ranks at App State.
Out of the Sun Belt Conference, where again they're one of the favorites. Foul went against Justin Forrest, by the way, his first. And Duke on top by 1. Almonacey getting off to a quick start. Trying to get on the other side of Keels, who shuts him down. Donovan Gregory, he comes in averaging 9 and 5. Only double-figure guy is Delph with 16 a game. Gregory rolling inside. Pass kicked right back to him, and that's going to fall in. And first basket of the night for 6'5 junior Donovan Gregory out of Charlotte. Baker in the lane. He'll draw the contact as he hit the deck.
I like the take by Joey Baker there. Of course, everyone in the building recognizes he's a shooter, but adding to his game, not just relying on his three-point shot, hitting that free throw line where he's shooting 95% on the season. So a good place for Joey Baker to be.
Duhard with a foul, number 1. And he drives in the first one. And coming up, our Pac-12 Coast to Coast Challenge on Sunday. Game on ABC and available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Duke by 1. Appalachian State lost to Rick Pitino's Iona team, to Charlotte by 1, to Delaware, and also at the buzzer to Vermont, and also losing to Furman. They're going to be taking on the Tar Heels at Chapel Hill 4 days before Christmas, and then they get into league play, where again they're ranked inside the top 5. Foul will go against Baker, number 1 on Joy Baker.
Now, Coach Kearns told us his team will not be scared. They've played against big-time competition. And this team, as Coach K reminded his group earlier, played in the NCAA tournament last year while the Blue Devils did not.
Delph looking to operate, comes in averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds a game. Very good beyond the three-point line. He's 41%. Gregory puts it to the deck, 1 to shoot, and left it short. And Roach with a rebound to trigger the run here for Duke. Bancaro outside the 3. Baker. Bancaro again. Got inside and couldn't lay it in. They defended him very well down there.
They really did. And although Duke doesn't score on that possession, earlier in the year, this is a shot that Paolo Bancaro would have taken, a pull-up 3 at the top of the key. But after the emphasis on moving the basketball, he gives it up, gets it back in the post, and I'll take my chances with Paolo scoring in that area 8 out of 10 times. Doesn't come away with the bucket there, but yet those are the shots you want him taking. And not that he shouldn't take the pull-up at the top of the key, but he's going to be greater in that painted area.
By the way, we say happy birthday to number 15 for Duke, Mark Williams. Outstanding shot blocker. He turns 20 years old today.
20 years old, leading the ACC in shot blocks per game, and still growing as a player. But I tell you, he's pretty good right now and only getting better.
Keels with the theft. Here's Baker's long one. Kind of shot that he likes to take and normally can hit it. Pounding it down the lane. Gregory got rushed defensively and could not connect. Here's Keels. Well, once again, the Mountaineers getting back on defense.
They really are. And, you know, Duke had a 20-0 advantage in fast break points on Tuesday versus South Carolina State. I'm sure that's something Coach Kearns talking to his team about. And it's really been App State getting it done on the fast break in this game early.
Count that basket. Goaltending on Griffin. So give it to Almonacci, who now has 9 points, and App State has a 16-15 advantage.
And Almonacci getting out in transition, gets it on the glass first. A.J. Griffin coming in to block the shot, but goaltending once it's already hit the glass. And Michael Almonacci off to a great start. 9 points for him, 4 for 5 from the field. And again, there's something about playing in this building that can bring out the best in you. Duke hasn't really matched the intensity yet this far of App State. App State has been the aggressor in this game.
Well, how about A.J. Griffin, who's coming off 19 points on Tuesday against SC State. First shot he takes tonight, he drills it.
And A.J. Griffin, who was injured in the preseason, really starting to find his legs and in this rotation for the Blue Devils. Playing very good basketball as of late.
In and out that time for Almonacci, who's been the hottest guy on the floor early on here at Cameron Indoor. Here's Baker, and it's going to be good from 3. He has 5.
And Duke shooting the basketball much better. Made a season-high 15 three-pointers in their win Tuesday. Came into that game only shooting 32.8% from 3. But now they've got a number of guys shooting the basketball confidently. We've seen Trevor Keels knock down 2 already, and Joy Baker getting involved in the mix.
So they made 15 out of 27. Delph a little too much inside. Rebound up, and that'll roll off the iron for Lewis. And out of bounds off Duke, off Williams. 20-16 Blue Devils.
Joy Baker has a reputation of being a knockdown shooter, and when you're a knockdown shooter, why wait? Catch and shoot, locked and loaded from the corner, knocks down a big 3 for the Blue Devils. Graduate student Michael Almonacci has been best in the biggest moments during his time at App State. We mentioned his success at the Sun Belt Tournament last year, and now on the biggest stage, stepping up, getting it done early for the Mountaineers. 9 points early in this game, which matches his season average, 4 for 6 from the field. And Michael Almonacci trying to come in and make a statement here in Cameron Indoor.
Looks confident.
Very confident. You know, I like a confident basketball player, by the way.
Do.
I'm like a confident person in anything. It doesn't necessarily even have to be basketball.
Well, it reflects who you are.
You know what?
In any and all things.
I appreciate you recognizing that.
Delph outside the three. He's been fairly quiet. Others have picked up the slack, though, for the Mountaineers. Shot clock is at 5. Once again, Almonacci drills it. Give him 12.
Yeah, and we talked about his ability to shoot the 3 ball. And again, I love playing in this gym. This to me is a shooter's gym. And so when you get an opportunity to come into a place like this, of course, Duke gets everyone's best shot. But to be able to shoot in this environment, you have to appreciate and take advantage of when you get those opportunities.
Roach swings it. Griffin not on target this time. As a player, you enjoyed being in here.
Oh, loved it. This place is great to play. And again, of course, you know, the crazies aren't as crazy because it's not the students, as Almonacci continues to keep rolling to give App State the lead right back. But, you know, these aren't the students in the Cameron Crazies right now. But still, this environment is a great environment to play. And, of course, you always want to come in with, you know, the crowd against you. It always gets the juices flowing.
Step back for Delph. Got nothing but air and picked off by Moore. And you're right. I mean, the students have already had their exams. Most of them have headed home. Griffin again. Yes, pretty sweet. These last couple of games, you talk about a confident shooter.
Absolutely. A.J. Griffin is shooting the basketball extremely well. And again, he's starting to become more and more a part of this Blue Devil rotation. Didn't have a big role early, but you can see Coach K's gaining more and more trust in A.J. Griffin.
Lewis could not corral the rebound, a battle for that. And they say off of Duke, and so the Mountaineers will have it.
We got some shot makers in the building, Obi. Almonacci off the dribble handoff, knocking down the 3, but A.J. Griffin not to be outdone, finding that corner, knocking down the 3 ball for the Blue Devils. And we've got some high scoring going on as well.
Well, Theo John just entering the fray. You look at the numbers on Almonacci, 14, 6 out of 8. Theo John, the 6'9 grad, did not play the other night because of a tight back on Tuesday against SC State. He's in there right now.
Yeah, and Theo's seeing what the graduate for App State doing. And Almonacci, Theo's like, I got to get a piece of this right here. So the grad transfer for the Blue Devils, Theo John getting back in the mix.
Another basket here by Almonacci, who is unconscious. 17 with 9 minutes to go in the first half.
And we came on talking about Adrian Delph, who went 10 for 10 to start their game against Delaware.
Griffin fouled and hit by Forrest in the act of shooting a 3. This is some performance by Michael Almonacci, the grad out of Brentwood, New York.
It really is, and give the Mountaineers credit for finding the hot guy. No one being selfish, no one taking shots out of character. They know that they have a guy that's rolling right now, and they're getting him opportunities. 17 points already for Almonacci, 3 for 5 from beyond the arc.
We talked about, as Griffin shoots the first one, how hot he was in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. But this is even more sizzling than that.
It really is. And when you consider the fact that this Blue Devil team has been good, I won't say great, but they've been good defensively this year, and they pressure you out beyond the three-point line, so you don't often get easy looks against them. But Almonacci's found a way to find his looks as Coach Kearns talks to Justin Forrest, bringing him out of the game. And when you look at what App State's been able to do early in this one, Duke has not seen this type of competition early in games. They're used to blowing people out in this building.
Well, Duke on top 26-24 as Griffin makes them all. But an outstanding start here for the Mountaineers, giving the Blue Devils all they can handle. And you know number 5 is going to get a touch. And here he has it now outside the three-point line. On the spin, got it back. He's bottled up. Shot clock down to 10. Eads back for Delph. Dangerous beyond the three-point line. A fall away 2 instead. Fight for the rebound. And App State comes away with a good effort by R.J. Duhart to keep that alive. Almonacci airborne. Not this time. And it'll go the other way for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, Almonte's done everything right, and then he goes to the floater. You know how I feel about floaters,
You're
Obi.
not a fan.
I'm not a fan, and that's where he went and messed it all up. Everything's been going great for him. Then he goes to the floater and just gets out of character, shoots an air ball.
And this actually gets him out of the game. I think that Dustin Kearns feels just the same way you do about the floater. No, he needs a breather is what he needs.
He's worked very hard in this one so far.
So coming up on the 8-minute mark here in the first half, good one between Duke and App State. The kick here for Keels. Can't argue he didn't have a good look. He certainly did. Mountaineers in transition, get it off to Delph. In some trouble. Free to Eads. Can't hit it. Rebounded away by Theo John.
You know, and one of the things we haven't heard much from is Paolo Banchero in this game. Hasn't been extremely aggressive. We've seen a couple of looks from him early, but hasn't gotten involved in the offense that much as Theo Johns comes up with the offensive board.
26-24, Duke by 2. You know, thousands have been affected by southern and Midwest tornadoes. If you would like to help, please visit redcross.org/ESPN right now to help the Red Cross respond and help people recover from this disaster. And by the way, in basketball news affecting Kentucky, Ohio State had to cancel theirs on Saturday, their game against the Wildcats because of COVID issues. North Carolina is set to play UCLA in Las Vegas, but UCLA had to cancel their game. Kentucky against Alabama State due to COVID as well. UCLA, by the way, their head coach Mick Cronin entered the COVID protocol there at UCLA. That game is up in the air. Cleveland State's COVID issues have caused them to bow out of Saturday's game here at Duke, so Loyola of Maryland will fill in at 4 o'clock on Saturday.
And really getting back to a point to where we saw a year ago where coaches are trying to come in and fill games on the fly, you know, with very short notice. Coach K talked to us earlier today about, of course, he felt bad for Coach Dennis Gates and his Cleveland State program, but also with so many people and this being a bucket list event to be able to attend a basketball game here at Cameron Indoor, he felt obligated to make sure that his team was able to play on Saturday. And so they were able to get Tavares Hardy, the Loyola Greyhounds, to be able to come in and play. And when you look at that, I mean, at my hotel alone, there's a group from South Dakota. Mm-hmm. You know, Duke shirts on, flew in to be able to make it to a Duke basketball game, especially in the final season of Coach K.
Boy, nice little spin there by John to knock in 2. And this is the biggest lead of the night for the Blue Devils. They're up 30-24. They make a great point about the fan base tonight. It's different than normal because most of the students are gone. So this is a pilgrimage game. In fact, these 3 games before Christmas, fans coming from all over the country who never get a chance to see Duke on a regular basis and sit here at Cameron Indoor, they're getting that opportunity tonight.
Absolutely. And, of course, also to be able to be in the Cameron Crazy section, that's a completely different bucket list. And, again, those are not students for the most part in the Cameron Crazies right now. So, you know, but to be able to do that during this time, and I can appreciate Coach K, you know, looking out for his fans in doing so and making sure they did everything they could to have a game for those people who have made so many plans to be able to be here on Saturday.
I mean, they're coming from everywhere, all across the country. Coach K told us today that he's been getting letters throughout the season from fans who are, you know, obviously congratulating him and saying thank you so much, thanking him for the extraordinary work he's done at Duke, and said, hey, we'll see you at Cameron Indoor. Flipped up there in a misfire, but followed up by Lewis Jr.
And that's, you know, one of the things that App State's been doing, they've been getting runouts. Coach Kearns said they will push when they have the opportunities. The defensive balance for Duke getting back in transition has not been great in this game.
John with the catch, and John will flush it. He has 6 coming off the bench.
But grimacing, coming back down the floor. Theo Johns, who had some back stiffness, missed Tuesday's game, and you can see getting his conditioning back, and of course that's coming off of 2 weeks of not playing. Coach K talks about Theo Johns and his weightlifting regimen may have something to do with someone that lifts that many weights.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little tight.
Maybe want to back off just a little bit. Here's Eads. Yes, knocks down a three-pointer. Michael Eads Jr., the sophomore from Orlando. They are making their shots.
Had to reach out to Michael Eads official last night. Say, hey, this is your son playing for App State, is it? Had to check in and make sure. But
Banchero threading his way in for 2. 4 so far for Paulo. And a 3-point lead for the Blue Devils, number 2 team in the country. Getting a pretty good test here by App State. And this man, Almonacci, who has 17. Lewis draws the double and also draws a foul. Trevor Keels with the reach.
Great pick and roll action. Trevor Keels with the nice find to Theo Johns, who finishes it off. But on the other end of the floor, App State, Mike Eads Jr. finding the 3-ball in the corner pocket, and it's good. And still a one-possession game. App State hanging around. And if you're Coach Kearns, that's really all you can ask for, especially coming into this building. Hang around, give ourselves a chance in the last 4 minutes to win a basketball game against, of course, not just a good competition, but great competition.
Got to be impressed so far with what they've been able to do. But a turnover picked up by Banchero, and he will misfire. Looked a little uncertain whether to dunk it or lay it in. Here's Forrest. Rebound Karam's back to Gregory.
And I'm not sure why there was uncertainty. Paulo should never be uncertain as far as getting to whether he's going to dunk it or not, especially in transition. It turns out to be a 4-point swing in favor of App State.
James Lewis Jr. with a nice move inside, and he bats that away. So a theft. App State late in the half with a chance to take the lead. They're going to throw it away. Almonacci gave it up, and that's their 4th turnover.
And uncertain as to whether to dunk it, whether or not to lay it up. And not only did Coach K have a negative reaction to that when he actually stood up and told Paulo how he felt about his last 2 plays, not the missed layup and also the turnover. And again, I love the fact that, one, Paulo is coachable, but I also can appreciate that 47 years into this, Coach K is still the same Coach K.
It's still the same fire burning, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
It is. And this is why you come to Duke. I mean, again, Paulo Banchero, this is where he wanted to be. He knew that during his junior year of high school he was coming to Duke. And he wanted to play for Coach K. And again, for this reason alone, he wanted to be coached by the best.
Moore will lift and knock in a 3. Wendell Moore has been kind of quiet so far tonight.
He really has. You look at the 2 best players for Duke. When you think about Banchero and Wendell Moore, neither of those guys have had big games, and they didn't have big games on Tuesday either. 12 and 11 points, 11 and 10 points respectively. So more ball movement and sharing the basketball has allowed other people to get going, but the 2 stars haven't had big numbers.
Shot clock to 7. Now Almonacci again. Can't hit this time. He's gotten a little bit chilly. And with less than 3.5 minutes to go, App State in that hang-on mode. Here's Williams with the stuff. His first bucket of the first half. This is that danger zone that Duke always seems to have opponents in. And swatted away by Williams on the block. Moore on the attack. He slams it. Danger zone indeed. And Duke now leading 41-33, and the Mountaineers need a timeout.
And that's how quick it happens with the Blue Devils. Defense to offense. Mark Williams, the birthday boy, coming up with a big block. Getting it out in transition for Wendell Moore Jr., who knows how to finish off a 7-0 run.
Seth Von Zubin coming up on the E-Trade Halftime Report. The one thing Duke's got going for it that nobody else in the ACC does. That's coming up at the half. What are you seeing in the first half here?
Thought Michael Almonacci of App State was terrific in the first half. 17 points in the first half, Seth. Then all of a sudden, that defense of Duke started to create some turnovers, and they were able to get some easy ones in transition.
Corey, the game after finals for a team when everyone's leaving campus. How difficult was that for you to get yourself ready to compete at the level you need to, knowing everyone else is going home?
After finals, and the reason why is because it's all basketball. You're not having to worry about school. You're not having to worry about classes. You can get extra time up. As a matter of fact, Coach Greenberg, I can remember Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish and a young man that just went into the Ring of Honor at Notre Dame, coming to Charlottesville, we sent him home with a whooping, though,
Ooh.
OB. Oh, yeah.
Something tells me Fonz remembers it vividly.
He does. Fonz and I were teammates in Denver for a year, and we talked about it often. We also beat him in the NIT championship that year, so, I was 2-0 against
You
Fonz.
were unrelenting. Here's Lewis, and that one clangs away. Bancaro with the rebound. Duke trying to add on. They're on a 7-0 run. Keels to the paint.
But to Coach Greenberg's point, it is more difficult shaking off the rust as Paolo Bancaro knocks down his first 3 after the 2-week break. And it is difficult shaking off the rust, especially when you come back in and their point of emphasis was to share the basketball. Everyone's trying to do that, but yet you've seen Paolo Bancaro and Wendell Moore not as aggressive as we saw them in their first 8 games before they took the 2-week break.
I know my Christmas shopping was always below par right after finals. As a student, I really struggled and batted away, but a traveling violation. Bancaro creating some space moments ago.
And you want to talk about not fair? This is not fair. 6'10", the ability to handle the basketball, create space, knock down the 3, and held the follow-through. That's the most important part. We have watched Paolo Bancaro have hot shooting games and games where he hasn't shot it well. It all goes back to when he holds his follow-through. For those of you watching at home, take account of when he holds his follow-through, he normally makes the shot.
Yeah, and you've seen him for a long time. You've known him for a long, long time. Become the player he is. Here's Forrest inside. Kind of opened up for him for an easy 2.
And the biggest difference I've seen with Paolo, the difference between him in the summer of 2018, he was very quiet. He was loud in 2019. He was more of a leader. He was more vocal.
Keels will finish that one after the turnover.
And that's who he is with this Blue Devil team. He's constantly talking. He's being a leader. And, of course, what better example to have than following this leader who also leads NCAA in wins.
We have a packed Sports Saturday on the networks of ESPN featuring the top 10 women's basketball matchup. ESPN2, that's number 3 Stanford at Knoxville to take on undefeated and number 7 the Lady Vols. They renew the rivalry after a year off due to COVID-19. Our coverage starts at 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific. So coming up on the 1 minute to go mark, Duke on top 46-35. App State has played a very competitive first half, but Duke has started to exert their will here in the last moments of the first half.
And Coach K talked to his team about making sure this game was played at their pace. App State played at Duke's pace early but did it better than Duke. But over the last stretch, the Blue Devils have shown their muscle.
Bancaro with an easy basket, give him 9 in the first half. And the lead balloons to 13. Delph takes the handoff. Nice bounce feed on the baseline, and that's a slick play. Gregory with the finish.
And Gregory slipping behind Bancaro, who kind of gets caught in no man's land, helping and not recognizing his offensive player back door to the basket, giving App State the easy basket.
So Duke to hold for the last shot. Game clock and shot clock just about synced up.
Look at this, 4-5 pick and roll to end the half.
Roach with a 3 on the way. Picked up by Bancaro, and the stuff should not count.
That actually hit the rim, so that was a shot clock violation. That should be a good bucket because the basketball did hit the rim. The horn should not have gone off. As Coach K is trying to explain to the officials, I believe when they go over and look at this, as you see, it wasn't the game clock, it was shot clock, but Bancaro gets the basketball on the rim. Going to be interesting to see how they rule that because the whistle was blown, but you can see the ball hits the rim before the end of the shot clock, and that should be a good dunk attempt, but I'm not sure if the officials can go back there or they just give the basketball to Duke.
And showing 1 second still on the clock. Duke on top 48-37. So this under official review. They have not counted the basket to this point.
I'm not sure they can count the basket, but I think at that point you have to go back and say it's Duke basketball because they have possession of the ball at that point.
Officials Ron Groover, Mike Roberts, and Tommy Morrissey.
And you see Bancaro gets it on the rim with 2.1 seconds. Now at this point the shot clock should have been off and the dunk should have counted for Mark Williams. However, with the whistle being blown,
so it looks like they are going to count that basket. It is good. Duke will get 2 on that, and they lead it 50-37.
and that's the right play. I'm glad that they can count that because I wasn't sure if it was a dead ball. Great thing I'm not an official. Way too many rules to remember. I can't even really remember the rules as what I'm supposed to say on TV and not.
Actually, you had it right out of the gate.
Okay.
That's likely to be a basket.
You are the best wingman of all time.
Telling
For the
you, I
record.
heard it. I was sitting right here.
There you go.
1.5 seconds. They reset the clock. And just going to dribble it out, and that's the end of the first half. Ended on a 16-4 run for the Duke Blue Devils. Man, we have seen that before with Coach K. So that's our score, 50-37. Duke leading App State here at the break. Rejoin us for the second half. Right now we send it to the studio with Zoom and Seth and the Fonz.
Got to get you updated on what's going on in that Georgia-North Carolina State game. Sarah Ashley Barker, coach for the Tide.
Great little misdirection play, bring her right back, comes off that screen, bam, dribble handoff, knocks down that 3. That's big-time late-game execution.
We are headed to overtime on the ACC network. Could be an upset brewing. Dave, back to you.
Suman, thank you very much. Getting ready for the second half. 13 points right now, but we did have 11 lead changes between App State and the Duke Blue Devils, Corey, in the first half. And then Duke went on one of those patented runs.
It really was, and they did it with their defense. Mark Williams coming up with block shots and then getting out in passing lanes. When Duke is able to play in fast break and in transition, they are a spectacular team and hard to defend, of course.
Yep. If you look at the first half again, it was nip and tuck there for a good hunk of that first half. And then Duke began to open things up and did it defensively. Bench points. Well, Duke way out in front, 19-5. That's 16-4 run to end the first half.
And it was a 7-4 fast break points advantage for Duke early. And then, of course, you saw they broke that open, ended up 14-6 to end the half. But with that 16-4 run, and they did a lot of that damage with their defense.
Michael O'Mahony had 17 points in the first 11 minutes, did not score over the last 9. And Adrian Delph, who is certainly the number 1 scoring threat for the Mountaineers, did not score in the first half.
And give Wendell Moore Jr., who gained that assignment early, a lot of credit for getting the job done defensively. This Duke team, in comparison to what we've seen from the Duke teams since Zion Williamson, haven't been very good. This is a very good defensive Duke team, and that's one of the areas where Coach K has been able to preach to this group. He talked about Baylor won a national championship last year because they were good defensively. He praises Baylor, talks about what they do on the defensive end of the floor, and he wants his team to play with that same effort defensively.
We'll see if O'Mahony can get going again. He was absolutely unconscious when he piled up those 17 points, then went dead cold. Here's Delph losing control. Shot clock at 5 for the Mountaineers. Lewis up high, gets it free for Forrest, and it's going to be blocked. And, of course, that's a shot clock violation, or ought to be.
I believe we got a foul on that one.
We did.
And Ron Groover coming over. The foul will be on Trevor Keels at the end of that play.
Ooh, man.
Well, we can say that Justin Forrest created the contact on that one. That's not a natural shooting motion. Jumped to his left to get the contact. However, Ron Groover is on the right. Doesn't have a good look at that, being able to see through the body, only sees the contact.
So Forrest catches a break, and he goes to the line. He's a 74% foul shooter.
He's got a special fan in the building today who wants to get a win at Cameron Indoor because he never got one. Justin's father, James, is in attendance tonight.
He was a standout at Georgia Tech many years ago. Really fine player.
I texted James last night, asked him if he would be here for the game. He said, yeah, ask Justin to get us a win because I never got one while I was there. We told Coach K that earlier today. He just kind of looked and laughed it off.
Yeah. There's Moore from the corner as he'll drain a 3. Wendell Moore has been hitting about 33% out there. Give him 10. He started to make his presence felt in this game.
He really is, and Paolo Beccaro as well in the end of the first half. But these two guys are the players that Duke has to have be consistent on a regular basis, both coming in averaging 17 points per game. As we get a look at my guy, Jay Foe, big fella, the 1993 ACC Tournament Most Valuable Player at Georgia Tech. course, went on to have a great NCAA tournament, made a huge game winner in the tournament that year, and outstanding career at Georgia Tech.
Here's Delph, came in averaging 16, had a 39-point game earlier this season against Delaware, and finally he's on the scoreboard as he swishes into triple, and now they're backward in 10.
And Paolo-Banchero got tripped up by Mark Williams on that play, giving Delph a wide open look. And, you know, I talked about Wendell Moore taking on that responsibility as a defender, but Duke switches defensively. And so give everyone credit, because whoever switches off takes the challenge of guarding Delph.
Keels got a nice look, couldn't bury the shot, although he's come alive in the last couple of games from three-point land. Almonacci around and out this time, rebounded by Gregory on the baseline, and they'll get another crack at it.
And Almonacci, at that time, Paolo-Banchero getting a hand up, and it's different when you got to shoot over a 6'10 guy.
There's Delph again.
Delph finding no problem shooting over the 7-footer, and Mark Williams, however, for his second three.
Well, here come the Mountaineers again. They were down 13 at half, now trailing 53-46, looking for a stop. Moore will kick it, but a foul before the pass. And back to Delph a moment ago. It's 41% outside the three-point line.
And you see Adrian Delph, the screen, as Mark Williams is late on the closeout. And that's, hey, welcome to Cameron Indoor. Adrian Delph. Okay, I took the first half off. I'm here for the second half.
Here for the second. Lewis Jr. with the foul for the Mountaineers moments ago. Wendell Moore, who's had such a complete season, averaging 17 points, 6 rebounds, about 6 assists a game. Trying to find Williams, and he'll draw the foul. Foul on the Mountaineers as the Duke Blue Devils get it inside to the 7-footer. That'll go against Donovan Gregory, his first. Duke with their ACC opener coming up here December 22nd against Virginia Tech, and the Mountaineers come away with it.
And you'll see Duke do that often on the underneath out of bounds play as Justin Forrest tries to line up a three.
Take one now off the front of the iron. Rebound tapped out. Underneath it's Lewis, and he will slam it in. Nice work right there by Forrest to find the open man.
And more importantly, second chance opportunity.
An 8-0 run here and a timeout. Forrest with a terrific pass.
And off an offensive rebound, Justin Forrest finding Gregory underneath with the finish, much to the pleasure of my guy, Jay Foe.
Well, an 11-3 start for App State to begin the second half draws the ire of the winningest coach in history.
And when you think about what's going on right now, coming into this building, Coach K is recognizing there's nothing to draw up. It's simply about your effort on the floor. A team that shoots 43% from the field, 31.7 from three, is shooting 46% from the field and 41.2 from the three-point line. It has 48 points, still with 17 remaining here in the second half. And it's been about Duke's defense that Coach K is concerned about.
And Carroll will draw the foul on a turnaround, the 6'10 freshman from Seattle. And a 5-point game here. And Banchero to the line, where, as Corey mentioned, he does a nice job, 84%. He's the nation's #1 true freshman scorer. Hey, tomorrow bowl season begins in the Bahamas. Middle Tennessee taking on Toledo at noon Eastern. And at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, and ESPN2 NIU squaring off against Coastal Carolina in Orlando. Both games available on the ESPN app.
Hobie, and Duke's only loss this season. They had a 15-point second-half lead at Ohio State and got stagnant offensively, started to play a little too much one-on-one, end up losing that game. And what we've seen here to start this second half hasn't been the offense, it's been the defense. But right now, Coach K wants to get these habits corrected.
Delph way downtown, not this time. He's had a hot hand to begin the second half, and a foul around midcourt against Donovan Gregory. With 16 and a half to go. It's going to be his third. Gregory is 6'5 junior. He's had some nice games. Had 14 against Akron, 12 and 7 against ETSU. And with the three, he's going to have to step aside.
Yeah, that's one where you got to recognize how valuable you are to your team. And no, it's not important to take that foul on Paolo-Banchero, 75 feet away from the basket.
Bancaro off the fake, zips it here for Keels. Bancaro beyond the 3. Now to the paint, swooping in, lost it. They tied him up defensively on the run out, and it spits free, but a foul on the play. Forrest takes the hit before he could lay it in.
And we saw a lot of this in the first half with App State getting out in transition, getting easy layups, scoring off of not necessarily Duke turnovers. Duke only turned the basketball over 4 times in the first half, but really more so not having defensive balance when someone attacks the basket, having no one back in transition to stop the basketball.
This guy, Justin Forrest, was fouled by Jeremy Roach, his second, a very important player over the course of a long career for App State. 132 games, #1 in their program history.
And you look at, he will score over 2,000 points in his career, but also all tournament last year when App State went to the NCAA tournament for the first time in a very long time. Before Coach Kearns got to App State, they had 8 consecutive losing seasons. Of course, Justin Forrest's first 2 seasons were part of that. And so part of changing the culture, and that's one of the things that he and Coach Kearns talked about for the decision for him to come back for a 5th year.
Here's Griffin from the corner. Buries it, a 3-pointer on target.
Smart play by Mark Williams. 2 defenders on him, recognizing to get the basketball to a shooter, but more importantly, get out of the lane so he didn't pick up that 3-second call.
Griffin coming up 19 against SC State on Tuesday here at Cameron Indoor. After a 2-week layoff, Coach K said he couldn't remember ever having a layoff that long. Here's Forrest, and that barely touched the netting. Moore for the corner. Roach, yes, he's going to fire on and hit it.
Now, often you may see a player run away from the basketball making a mistake, but rarely will you see 2 players make the mistake and run away from the basketball, especially a guy like Jeremy Roach, who's capable of knocking down the 3 in the corner.
Honestly, literally kicking it away. Here's Moore. Yes! He swishes in a 3-pointer. The Mountaineers need a timeout. Duke really lighting up from 3-point land.
Back-to-back threes for the Blue Devils. Actually, back-to-back. Griffin off a nice find from Mark Williams. Jeremy Roach, as 2 defenders leave him, knocks down the 3 in the corner, and then getting out in transition. Wendell Moore Jr., 3-ball, corner pocket is good. Run away from the basketball, making a mistake.
Well, Duke is definitely the 100-meter dash team, and they ripped off 9 points unanswered in 55 seconds.
Yeah, you took that from Coach K earlier. Look at you paying attention to the scouting report. Coach K said App State was a mile team, and we're a 100-meter sprint team.
Yep. He said we don't want to be running a mile. Game's been close at times, but this run has opened up a 14-point lead. Modessy's really gone stone cold since he scored 17 in the first 11 minutes. He's not scored since.
Yeah, and give Duke a lot of credit defensively for locking in on the guy that got hot. Nobi, I'll be honest with you. When Coach K was talking to the team and shoot around earlier today, I was thinking about stretching out the hip, lacing them up. Kind of got me going. I wanted to play a little bit, then realized that 48 is probably not the best decision.
Oh, no. The hip and the knees and the back. They'll start aching at about a minute and a half, right? Here's Williams with a kick out. Here's Griffin. He's been a hot shooter the last couple of ball games for the Blue Devils. They lead at 64-50.
Yeah, and speaking of knees, I got to give a shout out to my guy Chris Carrawell, not with the team after having knee surgery, and wish you a speedy recovery, my man.
Well, somehow got that one to drop in, but a whistle on the play. With 14:05 to go. Had hit the shot clock, so you wave off the basket as it took that first bounce. So no basket. We were waiting for the official call there.
Off the rim. It can go above the backboard, but it can't touch anything and it can't go over. Otherwise, it's out of bounds. And the shot clock is considered out of bounds.
14-point lead here for Duke. Deflected away and stolen by the Mountaineers, and here they come. Modesty pulled it up. Here's Justin Forrest. Denied initially and then fouled on the second effort by John with 13:38 to go.
Justin Forrest a little more aggressive here in the second half as well. Got off to a great start in this game. 5 quick points, 7 in the first half, but then he's been in attack mode here recently as App State has gone through the scoring lull.
So it'll be Forrest to the line, 74%. He was preseason first team all Sun Belt. Game averaging 9 points per game. ACC Network will have a college basketball triple header Saturday. It starts at 2. Virginia taking on FDU. And that'll be Duke against Loyola Maryland here at Cameron Indoor. The day capped with Buddy Boeheim. And Syracuse taking on Lehigh at the Carrier Dome. If you don't have ACC Network, go to ACCN.com for instant access.
Have you had your alma mater yet this year?
Not yet.
You have not? Let me tell you, Jimmy Boeheim, he can do it. He can play. I'm a fan. Jimmy may have a little more wiggle, may a little more off the bounce than Buddy.
Really?
Buddy, of course, is the shooter. Jimmy can shoot as well, but Jimmy with the basketball in hand is pretty he's pretty good with it.
It's been a choppy start for SU to this point. Do you think, having watched them, they will get it rolling?
I believe so. And when you get to conference play, of course, you also have a better recognition of the teams you're playing against. But more importantly, when you've got 4 guys, when you start thinking of Gerard, of course, both Boeheims and Cole Swider, who have the potential to be 40% three-point shooters. When you can shoot the basketball that well, you're going to find a chance.
Eads trying to make a move. Step back 3. Too strong. John lost control of the rebound. They get it underneath. Too much defense for Duke as they shut down Donovan Gregory. Gills with a kick. Griffin with a pull-up. And at the moment, nobody's making shots. Now Mondesi, who has not scored in the second half, still hasn't scored. Duke crunching down defensively.
But you have numbers right now. You got to make sure you take advantage of it.
Too strong for Banchero. Griffin gives it up. John to dribble down, has it knocked out of bounds.
But I like that shot for Duke. You 5-on-4, so even though you missed a 3, you have an opportunity to get the offensive rebound because App State's down a player with Mondesi down in the backcourt. Give you the chance for a second chance points, and coming up with the offensive rebound, John unable to finish it all.
Coach K will bring on Joey Baker, senior from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and one of the best three-point men in the league in the ACC.
And watch the recognition here. When Duke has a taller player in the middle, they'll often throw it over the top, but no need to do so as Wendell holds down 3 fingers. Not holding them up, this time holding them down because he knocked down the 3.
The junior from Charlotte continues to have a standout season. Duhart wouldn't shoot it. Forrest is doubled up. He's in trouble. Duhart off the window and no. Rebounded by Banchero, who can handle the ball in the open floor. He'll dish here to Wendell Moore on the wing. Came in averaging 17 points, 6 rebounds, and hitting 57% of his shots overall. Shot clock inside 10. Moore going one-on-one. Into the paint and knocks it down. And that gives Duke their biggest lead of the game. On top, 69-52.
And that's a 6'5" point guard with the ability to go by you, finish in the paint, who just knocked down a 3 on the previous possession, who continues to get better and better every time out.
Well, the Mountaineers in deep trouble. They need a serious answer. They're going to get Banchero for the foul. And he's upset about that. He thought he was just playing good defense.
Well, Wendell Moore going against the rules, but still knocking down the floater. For this guy, I got to tell you, this I love. 3 fingers down, knocking down the 3.
Studio, huge upset here in women's college basketball. This is Q Morrison for Georgia taking down number 2 North Carolina State in Raleigh. This is after they hit a 3 in the final seconds of regulation to get it there. Georgia wins in OT. What a finish and what a win for the Dogs, Dave.
Well, back here, it's 69-52 Duke, but a little something extra after that play where Banchero fouled Forrest, and then this occurred.
As Justin Forrest goes to the basket, Paolo Banchero gets the foul called on him, but Justin Forrest was something to say to Banchero, who responds, and the response got Paolo Banchero the technical foul, so offsetting technical fouls as Forrest goes to the line.
But Banchero now has 3 fouls.
Yeah, as does Forrest, but can you imagine if the Crazies were in this building after that and he goes to the free throw line and misses the first free throw?
You would not be able to hear yourself think.
You wouldn't be able to hear us talk either.
That's true. 69-53. So there were a pair of technicals offsetting on that little dust-up.
There are the true Cameron Crazies, meaning the students at home watching this game right now, screaming at their television, chomping at the bit.
Oh, that is sweet. The hesitation, the patience there by Banchero for 2. He has 13.
And that's the problem with waking up the sleeping bear. You know, he hasn't been super aggressive tonight. He's been playing his game, kind of chilling for the most part. But then something like that happens, and I love the coaching to say, hey, you get the ball next time down. Get to the free throw line or get us a bucket.
Give a lot of credit to Mountaineers, too, because at times they have frustrated him. They did in the first half. Little bounce feed for Lewis and denied by a whistle. They'll get Baker for the foul. And that'll be his second personal foul.
And one thing I can tell you, Obi, this young man has never backed down from a challenge. And you see, getting the basketball, Theo John with post position, but Paolo Banchero at that point was not giving the basketball up. He knew it was time to go make a play.
The crowd not liking that last foul. They thought they had a clean block there. Lewis will drain that. He's only a 59% foul shooter. Back to the last play.
And we see Joey Baker and Theo John both coming in. Baker got a lot of basketball on that block.
And number 2 for Lewis. Griffin there for the board. 71-54 Duke. Blue Devils looking at their 9th win.
It looks like we got a 1-3-1 zone now from Coach Kearns. It'll turn into a matchup, but you got to identify that guy in the middle.
And try to find number 13, Baker, and he'll knock it down.
And anytime you play Duke in zone, and which you have to at times because they're so good man-to-man, you have to be careful of the guys who can knock it down. We mentioned Duke, who hit 15 threes in their win over South Carolina State on Tuesday, now up to 12 three-pointers, 12 for 23, over 50% from beyond the arc so far in this game.
That's going to be a traveling violation against Delph and the Mountaineers. Back to the Baker 3 a moment ago.
But Joey Baker comes in shooting over 40% from 3. And again, he's a confident scorer, confident shooter. He knows as soon as this touches my hands, it's going up. App State not putting enough pressure on Joey Baker, trying to run him off the line. And, you know, if the Blue Devils can shoot the basketball this well, watch out. Because, again, with everything else that they do so well and when they're doing the best defensively.
Baker looking for 2 there. It's going to be an offensive foul. They'll get him for a charge. Yes, he'll pick up his 3rd. Joey Baker, the only senior on the Duke roster, and he's a captain. For Coach K, who is eyeing career win number 1,179.
If you'll remember back, Joey Baker's first year, the plan was to redshirt. And midway through the year, Duke had injuries. They didn't have big numbers as far as their depth. He burned his redshirt year. So with the COVID year, I'm hoping that we'll see Joey Baker back in a Duke uniform next year under head coach John Shire.
Gregory will drop in 2 to give him half a dozen points. Donovan Gregory, 74-56, about 9 minutes to play here at Cameron Indoor. Duke players are clear of their exams. Trying to thread the needle there was Roach, and he'll draw the foul.
The best time of the year for college basketball players right now. You don't have to go to class, and you get per diem every day. See, that's a big difference. You're not always having to eat in the cafeterias. You get per diem now. So, I mean, again, now, of course, you know, per diem is different today. You know, of course, when I was in school, we didn't have NIL. We didn't have, you know, cost of attendance, things like that.
You got nothing and liked it.
Exactly.
Griffin will swing for Baker, open again. Got an excellent look there, but could not connect. That's got to be a traveler. Did he keep that foot down? Apparently he did. On the baseline, Lewis lost control of it on the line and gave it away. And they have turned it over 11 times.
You know, Theo John is only the second ever grad transfer that Coach K has taken. But he is going to play an important role for this team this year. Versatile defensively, strong in the painted area, can shoot the basketball, is really good offensively, but more importantly, he gives them a great backup to Mark Williams. Mark Williams gets in foul trouble with the way Duke plays defensively, pressuring on the perimeter. Mark Williams is going to be in foul trouble at times because he protects the rim.
Banchero for Roach. Rebound is going to be tipped out off of App State. When you talk about Theo John as a guy who blocked about 200 shots at Marquette before he ever came to Duke.
And when you think about that, not only with Mark Williams, who's the ACC's leading shot blocker, but you don't get much drop-off when you substitute Mark Williams out of the game. Theo John still can protect the rim, but more importantly, his experience with this young Duke team helps them tremendously.
Roach to the paint, jumping inside, and a whistle. 7:58 to go here. 74-56. Duke in control at Cameron Indoor.
Wendell Moore Jr. has done a bit of everything in this game, and he's done a bit of everything this year. 18 points for Moore already, scoring inside. Of course, a highlight finish, and then his ability to shoot the three, knocking down three-pointers at a high clip. 4 for 4 in this game has stretched the lead out for the Blue Devils. And Wendell Moore Jr. having a great junior season. OB, if I can say to the world I'm proud and I'm happy for this young man, the success he's having. If he were right here beside me, I would say he was slacking. Only 4 rebounds in this game.
Well, he was really the man against Gonzaga, wasn't he? And that outstanding victory for Duke, 20 points, 6 assists, had 6 steals in that game.
Yeah, he was all over the place against Gonzaga, but and more important than anything else, his leadership has been great this year. Coach K's talked a lot about that, but the one thing that Wendell will tell you, the first thing, he's never played an NCAA tournament. And again, when you come to Duke, it's almost like a rite of passage.
Sure. Over the top, here's Williams blowing out the candle.
Now, I'm shocked that they didn't take that basket away, because when you look back at it, and we got to see a replay, that ball was going in. When Wendell Moore threw the alley-oop pass, that if Mark Williams wouldn't have touched it, it would have been 2 more points for Wendell.
But you know what? It's his birthday.
You know what? It's a great gift. You are right. That is a great gift.
On your birthday, you get that no matter what. He blocked a shot, but on the follow, 2 for the Mountaineers. 76-58.
You mentioned that Gonzaga game. And as great as Wendell was, and Paolo, in the first half was dominant, the player of the game for that one, and for me, was Mark Williams.
Well, that's what Mark Few said.
Mark Williams was a difference maker in that game. With not only defensively, but his ability to score in the post. But he pretty much neutralized Drew Timme, first-team All-American, who, of course, destroyed, UCLA. And Mark Williams was a difference maker in that one. And the difference in that game was that Duke had Mark, and Gonzaga did not.
Yeah, Williams had 17 points in that game, too, along with 9 points and 9 rebounds and 5 blocks. Roach jumping and then out to Moore. And he'll set it up here as we approach 6 minutes to go.
Intelligent possession by the Blue Devils, not forcing anything at the rim. Both Keels and Roach touching the paint.
Moore with a slam. Boy, did that open up for Wendell Moore for 20 points now.
Speaking of touching the paint, when you have shooters on the perimeter, guys capable of scoring the basketball, which Duke has, opponents are often scared to help. And you saw that, no one even helping. And, of course, if you do help, Mark Williams gets the dunk.
Delph will turn and fire and knocks it down, but they needed a lot more of that earlier. And a timeout, 78-61.
App State needed a lot more of that, but we all need a lot more of this. Wendell Moore Jr. attacking the basket with the finish. And just like I taught him, find the camera, young fella. Know where the camera is at all times.
You still know. Well, it was a pretty good fight early throughout the first half until the last 3.5 minutes of the first half when Duke went on a patented Blue Devil run and opened it up by 13. And now Wendell Moore and company sitting very comfortably in front, 78-61.
Yeah, but with 5:20 remaining, Coach K still not feeling comfortable about this game. Of course, coaches never are, and got his starters on the floor still and wants them to continue to play the right way as Jeremy Roach continues to thrive, getting to the basket. And that's really where he can be a better player this year, in my opinion. Getting to the basket more, not always relying on the jump shot, allowing him to see the basketball go through with easier shots.
He's had a good night passing it, too. He has 5 assists.
Yeah, his assist-to-turnover ratio is much better this year than what we saw from him a season ago.
Lewis in trouble, but got it to go. That was a tough shot over an outstanding shot blocker.
Yeah, it really was, and give Lewis credit. Got a shoulder into Mark Williams, and oftentimes you've got to hit the big guy, especially a shot blocker, to make sure that he doesn't get to his maximum lead.
Keels looking to penetrate. Almost lost it, but dropped it in. Very determined move by Trevor Keels. He has 11.
Special talent. You know, of course, Paolo Banchero gets a lot of the credit, and we give him so much praise, but Trevor Keels is a special talent, a young man who is going to have a great future playing for money for a very long time.
Forrest hitting the deck. Heavy contact there with 4:09 left. And he's had a rugged second half. Keels coming over to see if he's okay.
And runs into Mark Williams. And Mark Williams taking a bit of the punishment on that one as well. Justin Forrest is a strong young man. Mark Williams caught that one in the ribs. I'm not sure who made out worse for that one.
So they'll retain possession here. Now Mossy to get it in. And the foul. That'll go against Wendell Moore. His first. 82-63 Duke. Hey, Sunday we have the first game of the inaugural Pac-12 Coast to Coast Challenge doubleheader. Number 17 Texas takes on Stanford at T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. This game is on ABC. The women's game between number 11 Texas and number 4 Arizona will follow that on ESPN at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific.
Loving the alliance between the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and the ACC. Shout out to my guy, George Kleverkoff, the commissioner of the Pac-12. I'm sorry, did I say Big 12? It's Big 10, ACC, Pac-12.
There you go.
But George Kleverkoff, commissioner of the Pac-12, my guy, Wahoo Wah, UVA guy.
Roach with a kick. Banchero's open. Yes, nothing but net on a triple.
And held the follow through. That's what I want. Every time he shoots the basketball, that's what I'm looking for. We've had conversations about this, making sure that he holds it up each and every time.
Dealt straight on. Can't drain it. Banchero with a rebound. And with about 3.5 to go, it's Duke by 21. App State hopeful of pulling off a mammoth upset here tonight. And for stretches of the first half, they were very much in it. And those dreams were very much alive. But then the Blue Devils really start playing defense at an extraordinarily high level. And hitting a lot of shots. Here's Roach. And a foul. That'll go the other way. So the foul against the Blue Devils, 85-64 in front. .09 remaining here at Cameron Indoor. Duke in front 85-64. Foul off the ball moments ago on Paolo Banchero. Actually his fourth on a little hip check.
Yeah, he and Justin Forrest mixing up once again. Those two got together earlier, had a little conversation, and this time Paolo Banchero picks up the foul. It got physical between both those guys underneath, and you see Banchero coming in and with the hip check on Justin Forrest. And again, Forrest taking exception to it. I don't necessarily call that a dirty play, though, because he's coming in, the shot goes up. He's trying to get a rebound, trying to get position. Now, he did have a little extra emphasis on the box out, and he got called for that.
Duke has played 8 players. They've all scored at least 6 points. And under 3 minutes to go. Here's Moore back to work. Almost made the shot. He'll go to the line for 2. As he draws the foul. He's had a really good night. I would say at times very quietly efficient in this game.
Yeah, I think that would be a great description for Wendell's game. And again, you don't see all of what he does because he does so much. And oftentimes, again, you were here calling the game. I was on the floor the night he had the triple-double. And I didn't know it was a triple-double until someone texted me and said, hey, he may mess around and get a triple-double tonight.
Right.
And that's really what it is. But his leadership, and you can see that he has taken on the identity of that Duke point guard, where Coach K's always had that one guy that he could trust with the ball in his hands, especially at crunch time, to make the right play. And Wendell has been that this year for the Blue Devils.
So 21 points for Wendell Moore. And heading to the bench to a nice hand from the Duke faithful. 86-65 Blue Devils. Honestly, a little stumble. He was an absolute star the first 10 or 11 minutes of the game. He has not scored since then. Forrest off the front of the iron, followed by Huntley for 2. C.J. Huntley using his 6'10 frame. So Duke over the last 2 games shaking off a little bit of rust. They had gone 2 weeks between games after that scintillating victory over #1 Gonzaga, and they of course rose to #1 in the country, then suffered the loss to Ohio State. Swished in here right on the money by Roach.
And Jeremy Roach as well as Trevor Keels have both shot the basketball very well the last 2 games, and now Duke 14 3-pointers, one off their season high, which they set on Tuesday. And this is an encouraging sign for Coach K and his staff, seeing his team shoot the basketball this well.
Tie up with 1:53 to go. 89-67. And the birthday boy Mark Williams turning 20 years old today.
And again,
I love this picture. This is when his sister signed, right?
Everyone loves that picture except for Mark.
Mark doesn't like it. I think it's adorable. I think he knows we're showing it right now. That's what that look said.
That's exactly what that look says.
Great little brother.
Yeah, where we sit, of course, here in the Crow's Nest, you get a great look of Elizabeth Williams' #1 jersey.
It's right in front of us, yeah.
Right in front of us. To be completely honest, I don't think we will see Mark's jersey hang in the rafters, simply because I don't think we'll see Mark anymore at Duke after this year.
Sophomore now. And the NBA awaits 1:19 to go.
Amazing Coach K talking about Mark today and talking about how, the academic side of things has been a tough 2 weeks for his team academically, dealing with final exams and everything going on. But he says, except for Mark. He's just so smart that, this stuff really doesn't faze him like that.
89-67. Coming up on a minute to play here, so Duke about to put another win in the bank and improve to 9-1. App State will go to 6-6. And some subs now appearing in the game. Bates Jones with a misfire there. Griffin collects it under a minute to play. He'll drive and kick, and Blakes is on target. So Jalen Blakes, the freshman out of Somerset, New Jersey, coming off the bench with a triple.
15 for 30 from 3. The Blue Devils at 50%. Shooting the basketball with tremendous confidence here on their home court.
The final score will be somewhat misleading because in the first half this was very much a game, but then Duke decided to play as they are capable and just buried Appalachian State.
Yeah, give Coach Kearns a lot of credit for the game plan, the way his team approached this game, coming in a very professional manner, and they were not scared at all of the Blue Devils. But Duke just wore down App State as the game got later and later. And of course, when you step up and make 15 3-pointers, it's normally going to be a pretty good evening.
Heck, I say give Coach K credit too, because there were times he really lit into his team tonight. Didn't have to do it for very long because they responded. And they're going to sail to, in the end, an easy win here against App State. So next up will be Virginia Tech on this floor on Wednesday as the ACC schedule gets underway for the number 2 team in the country. So that will be your final score tonight. Duke 92, Appalachian State 67. Duke laying on the gas to win this one going away. And to watch this entire game on replay as well as other games on ESPN2, download the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Corey Alexander, I'm Dave O'Brien. Let's get back to Zubin and the gang in the studio.